Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today for our webinar, Agents of Discovery, Increasing Visitor Engagement on Your Trail Using 3D Learning Platforms. My name's Kara. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the program manager at Partnership for the National Trail System, or PNTS. For those of you who may not be familiar with PNTS, we're a small nonprofit that's a collective voice, a resource provider, and a hub for exchange, learning, and action for the National Trail System. As the only 501c3 nonprofit focused on the 32 national scenic and historic trails, we bring together professionals, leaders, and trail and hiking enthusiasts to promote a thriving, accessible, and inclusive national trail system. I'll be serving as today's webinar moderator, and I'm speaking to you from the lands of the Onondaga and Haudenosaunee people. PNTS recognizes that land acknowledgements are an important first step in acknowledging that we are on stolen Indigenous lands. In a moment, I'll put a link in the chat where you can explore what native lands you currently reside on. Please also enter into the chat any questions or comments as we go, and let us know what organization you're affiliated with. PNTS recognizes the need to commit further and engage in meaningful partnerships. PNTS is committed to working with Indigenous people, organizations, and communities, and having Indigenous people lead the way through initiatives such as our Tribal Consultation webinar series. Our commitment proceeds into the future through projects such as the Native Lands National Trails Project, which provides resources to help advance National Trail System awareness and education of Indigenous knowledge and stewardship. Today's exciting webinar, you will learn how you can increase awareness and visitor engagement on your trail, public lands, sites, museum, or nature center with Agent of Discovery's 3D learning platform that uses augmented reality to engage players with their environment. The webinar today is being recorded, and I'll send it out to everyone that registered following the live presentation. We have an hour for the webinar today, and we'll have some time at the end for questions with our speakers. Now it's my pleasure to introduce today's speakers. We have Anna Scheck, the sales team lead with Agents of Discovery, and Alice Sambatti, the partnership specialist with Agents of Discovery. And now I'll hand it off to them to get us started.
Thanks, Kara, for the introduction. So hi, everyone. My name's Anna. Like Kara said, I'm the sales team lead for Agents of Discovery, and Alice, Chris, and I are looking forward to sharing more with you about our 3D learning platform. Go ahead, Alice.
Thanks, Anna. I'm Alice as well. Looking forward to presenting this to you all. And just starting off here, how do we support land managers in the US and Canada through Agents of Discovery? And we do that through the augmented reality platform that Anna will touch in a second. But we do that and we partner with places like the Bureau of Land Management, the USDA Forest Service, National Park Service, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, California State Parks, as well as many others across the country, as you can see here on the map. So it creates a network of collaboration between these organizations, which is something really great and allows for maybe typically two states, maybe Kansas and Washington, or Missouri and California wouldn't typically work maybe necessarily all the time, but they are collaborating in a certain way together, either through the back end of our platform by creating content or by participating in webinars together. So that allows to create a really cool collaboration network that just allows for many of them to interact with one another. It also allows as we're supporting these land managers everywhere, it allows for each site to highlight their own site individually and make interpretive services more accessible. So they're doing that through our app and the platform. And it just allows for maybe necessarily a site that doesn't have the most, involved interpretive services to provide something for the visitors to do, for the visitors to learn about and to see in their site. So that's something that we really pride ourselves and that we see a lot of state agencies, federal agencies, increasing their numbers of sites and just really getting involved with the network, which is so awesome to see. So yeah, that's a little bit of how we support land managers everywhere, which is a good sight to see.
Thanks, Alice. All right. So, what is Agents of Discovery? Agents of Discovery is a 3D augmented reality learning platform. So, you can think of us as Pokemon Go for education or a digital scavenger hunt. There are two components to our platform that we will touch on today. Starting on the left-hand side with this nice computer screenshot here is our mission maker. That is the back end of our platform, and it's where you create things called missions and challenges. A mission you can think of as a location, and Chris will talk a little bit more about one of the sites that she uses Agents of Discovery at. So the mission is the overarching concept, and then inside the mission are multiple different challenges, which are questions or mini games. So as you're walking along a trail, for example, these challenges will pop up for you, and you go ahead and play them and learn more about the site that you're at. So once you go ahead and create on our backend mission maker, which is a web-based dashboard, so you don't need to integrate with any existing software or IT, you publish to the Agents of Discovery app, and players can play for free there. They just have to download the app on the App Store or on Google Play. With our app, it is very basic in the way that there's no in-app ads, there's no data tracking, no in-app purchases. So it's simply the game, and players learn more about the site that they're at. And just to show you more about how Agents of Discovery works on the ground, I will go ahead and share a video done by the Bureau of Land Management that talks about how they use Agents of Discovery at Pompey Pillar National Monument.
Visitors to Pompey's Pillar National Monument can now get an interactive learning experience. Employees from the Pillar, Billings Field Office, and Montana Dakota State Office were recently briefed on a new project to promote learning and playing outdoors.
The project is Agents of Discovery, and it's an interactive app that uses geolocation and QR codes to unlock challenges here around the monument. And we have 3 missions here, but there are missions all over the country at different public lands. So it's a really cool way for visitors to engage in their environments, connect with nature, history, and culture in a free and accessible app.
2 interns from the Montana Conservation Corps worked on the project together, learning about the history of the pillar and getting to know the environment. All the information was then used to create 3 missions visitors can choose from within the app.
We did kind of split it, kind of 50-50, but we also worked on it a lot together. So we usually only had like 1 or 2 days together that we worked, and so the entire morning we would spend together working on that. And so that includes stuff like just walking around the pillar and like learning about all of this stuff. We would watch the videos in the interpretive center, the one about the teepees, because we do have a game of challenge about the teepees, and then just making all of the content and like figuring out what would be fun and not like as tedious as doing other things, and so trying to get like a lot of different types of challenges. We have 3 missions here at Pompey's Pillar. Each mission is focused on a different aspect of either the history or the ecology here, and each focused in a different location within the park. So our first mission is It's No Secret mission, which is about history, because history should be no secret. And our second mission is Operation Outside, which is focused on the ecology and natural resources surrounding the monument. And our third mission is Undercover mission, which is a combination of both history and ecology, but focused completely indoors, both in the visitor center and in the cabin.
So the next time you visit Pompey's Pillar National Monument, don't forget to bring the Agents of Discovery app with you and experience history in a whole new way.
Okay, so that's just a brief video that shows Agents of Discovery. Hope you enjoyed that. All right, just going to exit out of that video here and reshare the presentation. And I also put a polling question in the chat there, so feel free to put in your answer. I'm also going to talk a little bit more about the organizations that we work with. Thank you, Alice, for previously mentioning how we work with co-managers of sites. So we work with organizations mostly across the US and all shapes and sizes. We have some larger partners like the USDA Forest Service. We also work with municipalities, City of Seattle, City of LA, City of Malibu, and we also work with state organizations like Colorado Parks and Wildlife, California State Parks. What's nice about Agents of Discovery is that it is completely customizable, so you can engage your visitors or your residents about whatever you would like. So it's a really great way to get people outdoors, exploring local trails or local sites. And the content does not have to be created by us. You have full creative control about what you would like to engage your visitors about. With that, I will pass it over to Chris to talk about one of her missions.
Good morning, everybody. I am really pleased to talk to you about the Nez Perce Nimiipuu National Historic Trail Agents of Discovery experience. We started right at the beginning when the Forest Service offered the opportunity to work with Agents of Discovery, and we've been working with it about 6 years. This year we'll have 11 missions throughout the Bitterroot Valley and a little bit beyond. Working with partners, it's been a really great experience, and allows each of us to do a maximum amount of work within our schedules, but get a really big outcome. So the mission that I'd like to talk about today is at the City Park in Hamilton. It's along a river, and I was working with the Nez Perce National Historic Trail Administrator, Sandy McFarland, who's a Nez Perce woman, and she we were sitting on a bench on a warm summer day, and she was imagining a Nez Perce family camped in this location because it was perfect. It had a place for horses, water for the horses, a nice flat place for teepee, wood to gather for fire. And so we began to imagine a mission that would ask kids to relate their own family camping experiences to what a Nez Perce family might have experienced. So it's a nice little, I think we have 12 challenges. The mission takes about 20 minutes to play. It's in a really nice grassy area where, you know, parents can sit and let the kids free range with them in view. And so it's safe and exciting place to play. And it's my favorite one, of course. But it you know, talks about food from the river, like I said, grazing and water for the animals, and nice flat place for teepees. Our agent is Itzy Yaya, Coyote Girl, and we're very proud of her. We like her very much. She has the attributes of a Nez Perce woman, and we use her often on missions. Many of our missions have other agents, but because we also have the Lewis and Clark Trail in the valley, we have several other historic sites that are participating, and they all have, well, most of them have their own agent. I don't know. It is Bitterroot Salish homeland, which is an interesting thing. It's the Nez Perce Trail, which travels on a eons old, I call it a travel way. It was used for tens of thousands of years, and it happens to be through Bitterroot Salish homeland. So we do take care to talk about that.
Thank you, Chris. I'll turn it over to Alice now to talk about how we support diversity and inclusion efforts.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Chris, for that. That was awesome. Just going off on Chris's point, you put in a little bit of work, but you get a lot of return, right? Because that's one of the points that I wanted to talk about, diversity and inclusion. You can put these missions in these locations where are really culturally rich or naturally rich or historically rich. And people can play on their own time. They can learn, you know, without necessarily a guide, They can choose when they visit the missions. So that's what we try to give this technology to places like Nez Perce to work with and to use for interpretation, which is awesome. Then just some other points that the Tacoma Nature Center, which is another location we partner with, talks about, and how how agents brings diversity and inclusion through the app is that, you know, we can play it in English, Spanish, French, so it allows for other ethnic groups also to play these missions and learn about their natural areas, their historical areas, their cultural areas. There's a text-to-speech function. You don't need any Wi-Fi to play. There is the ability to play with your chosen group. You don't necessarily have to be forced within a group, you know, which might also be fun when you're in a school. But if you're on your own or with a smaller group, it's good to be able to learn about your environment a bit more independently. So that's what we try to bring forward to the table. And all of this is customizable, so you can make your mission about the indigenous lands. You can make it about the natural area, the frogs in that little bog that you're visiting or something like that. So there's lots of opportunity to make different experiences to include people from all ages and abilities within the area that they're visiting. So that's a little bit of how diversity and inclusion is brought through agents of discovery.
Thanks, Alice. I'll just go ahead and share our key takeaways from the presentation today before we give you a demonstration of the Agents of Discovery app. So some key takeaways here are we're like Pokemon Go for education, and we use augmented reality, so it's a little bit different than some other things out there like virtual reality where you need a headset to play. Augmented reality is very accessible to everyone because you simply need a device that has a camera. So for example, a lot of people play on their phones, but you can also play on tablets or anything that has access to the App Store or Google Play. You can really play Agents of Discovery anywhere. There are two main options for where you can play Agents of Discovery. You can play at a site like the Nez Perce Trail that Chris mentioned. You can also play at home, and that's what we will demo for you today in the Agents of Discovery app. We are going to demo a mission all about Smokey Bear's 80th birthday. There's also no Wi-Fi required to play, like Alice mentioned. So once you download the mission that you'd like to play, you no longer need a Wi-Fi or a data connection, and all of the data for how far you traveled, how many challenges you completed will upload after the fact. And you can also play in English, Spanish, and French, like Alice mentioned. So with that, we will go ahead and demo the Smokey Bear's 80th birthday mission. There are two options for this mission, but we will show you the play at home version today. There are lots of sites in the USDA Forest Service and some of our other partners as well, like Edison International, that sponsors missions in Southern California that use this Smokey Bear mission. So while Alice loads that up, I will also put another polling question in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. All right, I believe you should see my screen okay. So I'll just start walking you through how this would look like. And if you do have the app downloaded, feel free to play along with me. But just so that you can see an overview of how the languages and the text-to-speech, those accessible features would look like, you could just change languages over here. So you could change it to Spanish, French, and English. We are from Canada, so we usually use English and French, but in the US it's more common to be using English and Spanish, but we've been working with the city of LA and we're going to be deploying a lot of other languages in the near future, just in time for the Olympics as well. So we also have the text-to-speech feature over here. If you'd like to turn that on, might help make the experience a bit better if you need. But if we just go over here and search for missions, we can search for the Smokey Bear mission. It separates all the missions by geographic proximity. So because I'm a little bit farther away from the US, I might have to search the one that I'm looking for, which is just the Washington one. As you can see, it's already downloaded over here, so I wouldn't even need internet to play this. But you can see all the details of the mission over here. So the directions and safety info. And I'm just going to click on that, and it's going to bring me to Smokey, who's looking very cool over here. And then he's going to introduce us to the mission. There's a little voice introduction if you'd like to hear that. But here it says, hello and welcome to Smokey's cabin. During this mission, you will learn about wildfire prevention and how to help Smokey protect the lands where we live, work, and play. In 2022, humans caused more than 61,000 wildfires in the US. Fires destroy homes, pollute the air, and put people and animals in danger. But this year, we can do better. Now more than ever, Smokey needs your help to prevent wildfires. That's very true. We see fires every year and them growing with intensity. So this is a tool that's more important than ever to educate young learners and even families, adults, all about human-caused wildfires. Just before we go into the challenges, I'm going to click on the top right-hand side and the letter I. And you can see all of these markers and what it means. So if you have any questions on what you might be looking at, this gives a little brief overview of what you'll be seeing. But there's also the dashboard. So all of these analytics are transferred to the backend, which is another cool feature we have. So you would be able to see if someone is logged in. For example, if Alice Sambatti, how she played during the mission and completed the challenges. But because I'm a guest, I'll just translate myself to a guest in the back end. So you don't necessarily need to log in, but it just helps also for you to save the missions that you've played along the way. And then I'm just going to quickly play 2 challenges, or maybe even 3 here. Let's see. We can do a image checklist. So that's just the blue one with the 4 squares. And here it says, according to the National Interagency Fire Center, nearly 90% of wildfires in the US are caused by people. So we're going to have to see which are the human-related causes of fires. So cigarettes, campfires, the car, and yes, the barbecue place, volcanoes, and lightning are natural. So that should be good. And then it gives a little conclusion on the challenge we just played. So unwanted human-caused wildfires can result from unattended campfires, escaped debris burns, improper maintenance of equipment, parking on tall, dry grass, and improperly discarded matches, cigarettes, and charcoal from barbecues. I've earned 3 USBs, which is just the little point system that we have here. And some places decide to abide by that or not, but it's just there for fun. Yeah, so I'll go on to the next one, which is just a text checklist. And to keep your family and our forest safe, Smokey has 5 simple rules that he wants you to remember. Can you find all of Smokey's rules for wildfire prevention? Choose all the options that make sense. So always be careful with fires. Only you can prevent wildfires. Never play with matches or lighter. Pouring water on a fire once is enough. Is not one, I think. Fires are only danger if they're big. Make sure your campfire is completely out before leaving it. And always watch your campfire. Awesome. I usually do these a couple of times, so I should be good with this over here. And then I'll show a AR sorter, which is just one that uses my camera. And these are going to be words that are going to be floating around me. So here it says, although humans are responsible for nearly 90% of wildfires in the United States, wildfires do occur from natural causes as well. So I'm just going to read that prompt. What are some natural causes of wildfire? You'll be seeing my room over here as I'm floating around. So some natural cause of wildfires, even if I click the wrong one, I can still continue, it just won't count towards the actual count. So here we have a couple. Some, I guess, no, the sun, no.
I saw it, Alice. I think it's wind. If you when you see it. It flew
Is
by
it?
pretty fast.
That's a good pun. Oh, it's not wind. Um, oh, I guess it's coal seam fires. Okay. I was a bit confused on that one. Okay, lighting is the leading cause for naturally occurring wildfires. That is true. Up here in Canada, there is lots of wildfires that are caused by lightning. Awesome. So as you saw, I got 0 points, but I can just play that again and get the points that I could collect from completing all of those challenges. And once I completed, I'm just going to click on this check mark. This is just available in the cheat mode that we have available. It's just for our partners to test out the missions before they actually deploy it for the user. So you can do that. And then you get this as a reward. Each site can give a reward if they want to. They don't have to, but it's there if they would like. So here it says, great work, you've completed Smokey Bear's 80th birthday mission. You now have more knowledge to help prevent wildfires. Download the Smokey Bear coloring sheets below. So you could click on the Smokey's coloring sheets. It would bring you to an external site, which you would then need internet for, of course, but you can always, if you log in, you can always check that information back later. So that's a little bit about the Smokey Bear mission. I invite you all to play that one, as well as any that are near your area. And yeah, that's a little bit about Smokey. Feel free to drop any questions if you have any regarding the app itself or the backend. We'd be more than happy to answer that. And I think on it's you. No.
Yes, thanks, Alice, for that great app demo. And that was just also a testament to the fact that Agents of Discovery can work for all ages. Clearly, Alice and I have some learning to do about
Oh
wildfires.
no.
So, all right. I'm just going to share our last slide here that has our contact information, and I want to open the floor to any questions that you have for Alice, Chris, and I. We'd be happy to answer anything that you have.
I suppose, Chris, just to start off here, the questions. You mentioned a bit earlier before the presentation started about being able to work in this network with a lot of other organizations and maybe just get your sites more involved. Can you maybe talk a little bit more on that
Sure.
if you'd like?
So I'm in the Bitterroot Valley in Montana, and it's, generally what I think most of us would call a rural area. And so when we began, we started, and also because our trail is an auto tour route, we have a lot of sites in our valley that are along the trail, like Travelers Rest State Park, Fort Owen State Park, the City Park in Hamilton, St. Mary's Mission, as well as sites on the forest. And Lewis and Clark and Nez Perce Trail share this alignment. And so we had lots to work with. So we went and asked people if they would like to have a mission, and they did. And over the years, each year we kind of get together and say, what are we going to do this year? And this year we're doing a campaign, July and August. We're going to have an Explorer campaign with Agents of Discovery, and we're really going to promote things, the whole thing, and we have prizes, and we really want to get people engaged. My personal feeling about this is if we have 11 missions, you could go out 11 Wednesday evenings with a picnic with your family, free, to another site in the valley. You could learn the stories and history of our valley and experience some really great outdoor places, and it's all free. And I think accessibility these days is really important. Getting kids out in the wild is important, even though a lot of these areas aren't wild, they're still outside and active. And so we've just found a really wonderful experience. Like I said earlier, nobody has time to do it all, but when we come together to imagine what we can do together, people get energized. They volunteer to go get the prizes. We're going to I get to go on Tuesday to talk to our Bitterroot Health, which has got clinics and a hospital all throughout the valley. And we want to have them be a partner because a marketing partner, because they talk to kids and families. So we're really able to do a much bigger thing together and model collaboration. I mean, none of us have very much, none of us have enough, but together we have more than enough. So it's just really been a positive experience for the trail. People are learning more about the trail, and just, you know, the power of good energy is kind of amazing to me.
I think that's so real, Chris. And we see that with a lot of other areas across the US, like not just in yours, but in the Puget Sound area, the SoCal area, Colorado, the DMV, so DC, Maryland, Virginia. We see a lot of that good energy flowing through our partnerships, which is always great to hear. And the collaboration um, is the most important thing we see in those areas too, because they're all very excited. Again, they might not typically work with each other, like the city of Seattle might not typically work with the city of Yelm and Mount Baker Snoqualmie, but they do in this 1 or 2 months at a time, for example. So it's really exciting to always see that collaboration, what prizes we can get, how many visitors we can get in each site, learning about the area, and that's always a pleasure to see. Also, just as you know, Anna and I were partnership specialists, we're bringing all these organizations together. So it's really awesome to see how great this collaboration can take place. And Nick, I do see your question over there. There is a charge to agencies just because we have to maintain the platform, but also because we give that customization that, for example, Chris has with her avatar, her avatars, that we do charge organizations. So the prices range from about $550 to $19 a day for a yearly license, so about $2,000 to $7,000 per year. So we work with a bunch of agencies that either include that in their budgets, get sponsorships like through Edison International, through utility companies, they partner with like nonprofits. So there's lots of ways to fund this, and it just brings a really accessible tool to an agency or agencies, depending on how many are onboarding at a given time. Anna, do you want to expand on any of those points as well?
Yeah, I can expand on that a little bit. With the Agents of Discovery platform, we make it as user-friendly and customizable for you as possible. And if you are a federal agency or you're representing a federal agency, there is a little bit of a different pricing model. But like Alice said, it's between $550 and $19 a day. So we try to keep the cost down as much as possible. If you're representing a nonprofit, we also do offer nonprofit discounts on top of that initial price. So there are a lot of ways to fund Agents of Discovery. Like Alice mentioned, those corporate sponsorships with utility companies. We also are a part of a lot of grant writing because it's a great way to engage people in a new way in the outdoors. There are lots of different ways to fund Agents of Discovery, and if you're interested in a specific funding route, we'd be happy to explore that with you.
Yeah, that's great. I also see the next question from, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but Aishwarya. Do you have any agency currently using it for trails along roadway? Curious on what level of mission can be created to educate the usage safety. Anna, do you want to answer that one? Or I can start over there, whatever is best.
Yeah, so we have a wide variety of partners that use Agents of Discovery for safety messaging. Some partners that I can think of that use it for safety messaging include both Santa Cruz County Parks. That is a partner that we've had. And what they do is they encourage people to respect the sensitive habitat that they're around, but they also have a safety message since they are a larger county in California and they have some more urban areas. So it can definitely be used for safety messaging. We've also had a partner in the past that used it to educate others about things like car safety. So just making sure that you're staying on the sidewalk, far away from any cars. And what's nice about Agents of Discovery too that I want to mention is it's not like Pokemon Go in the sense that you have to place the challenges are randomly placed. You can have full control over where you place each challenge. So you can make sure that everyone is staying in those areas that are safe to play. So that was the problem with Pokemon Go when it first came out, was that people were going into unauthorized areas, they were getting hurt, that sort of thing. So with Agents of Discovery, you have full control. Do you want to add anything to that, Alice?
Yeah, I saw Chris, and I was actually gonna mention it if you wanted to talk about the safety measures that you put in the mission, for example, that you talked about today, and any other ones.
Well, I was just going to say that we would really like to expand. I mean, at first, when we first started 6 years ago, and we thought, oh, we'll do the whole trail, but then that doesn't work to do long distances. You need to do missions at sites along the trail, and so it's now in my mind easily possible. And since we have our collaboration going over about 100 miles, I mean, we could extend that for 1,200 miles. It's just about contacting partners and getting, them engaged and kind of up to speed. I would also like to mention the costs. For us, the Forest Service has paid for the up until now, and after this fiscal year, we will be responsible for paying for ourselves. And we've already decided that's just not an issue. It's very affordable, and we're willing. Again, the neat thing about the partnership is we're willing to come together and figure out how to fund that. I would also say that you guys didn't mention geofencing and stuff. There's a lot of opportunity to use agents for safety messages and other information that might be like, okay, if a trail is all of a sudden closed or something, or washes out, you could have a message. You just go into the platform, which is really easy to operate. You put that in, and boom, it shows up along in that mission. So you can get very current and timely safety and other kinds of information. And the geofencing allows you to have to have the information come up when you're, in the physical space. And so it's really, it's a very deep and rich platform. It's easy to operate, and it also has depth, which is kind of unusual in terms of these, in my experience, in these kinds of things. So you can go deeper and deeper and do more and more with it as you kind of get it going.
That is definitely the case. Another safety mission, not a safety mission, but a mission that uses safety as one of the main ideas of the mission is in Mount Baker Snoqualmie. They have a lot of ice in one of their sites, and they the representative wanted to do a mission about not stepping out of the path, because the ice can affect, you can slip and you can really hurt yourself, among more bad things. But he still wanted people to explore that area, as it was part of the USDA Forest Service. And yeah, just wanted to get people learning about the importance of staying on the trail, making sure you're respecting the area, respecting the space, and geofence that area specifically for people to learn about.
Yeah, for sure. And one more thing that I'll just mention as well, just building on Chris's point that the platform is very easy to use, is I'll talk about more about that creative control that I mentioned. So if there is a site that is closed due to a washout, ice, another problem, what happens with the platform is that you can easily turn off that mission just with the click of a button. So people will not be tempted to go to those areas, and you can either have the mission off for however long you need to, or you can create a play at home version. So you can play that from anywhere while making sure that people stay away from the danger. So that was a long explanation, but I hope that makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for just all this amazing information. I do want to say to our attendees, if you would like to ask about an idea that you have for your site, or just any site-specific questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and we can unmute you.
And also, I see Chris, you wanted to say something else over there. Yeah, I saw your hand going.
Well, I know I have tons to say. So I'm just, anyway, one of the things that I like about agents is that as I deepen my understanding of my trail and the native voice within my trail. New possibilities sort of come to mind. And one of the things I've learned is that the Nez Perce language, and I think probably all native languages are important, both to see the written words and to hear the words. And so I think we're going to be updating our missions to include audio of spoken Nez Perce. And I think that will really be a wonderful addition. And I think anyone, since we were all saying what stolen lands we're on, all of our missions could probably include native language. It's very important, I think, to tribal people, but also to us to have that heard and seen.
Absolutely, Chris. I'll expand more about how you're going to input those languages. So, or just input the audio files. So with Agents of Discovery, we have a challenge type called Sound Matcher. So you match an audio file to a text or a picture. So yeah, that's a great way to incorporate that in, Chris. Thanks for sharing.
And we also, just expanding a little bit on Chris's point, we also work with a lot of places that do focus on bringing voice to Indigenous languages and Indigenous voices. Like we work with a lot with Washington State, which has a lot of representation for Indigenous people, their culture, their voices over there. So they do a lot of mission. We see the Seattle Tacoma Nature Center, Metro Parks Tacoma, and then we have a couple of sites in Alaska also, which brings me to the point of how, you know, even with a super pretty remote location, I would say Alaska is. It's a if you ever go up north, you'll see that going from one place to another isn't, you know, necessarily the nearest thing, but you can bring those voices to really remote locations, and just get people knowing about these missions before they go, which is always great. So we see, I think the Arctic, is it Arctic Interagency Visitor Center on it? Yeah,
Yep.
that one. That one in northern Alaska, which is pretty far away, and we see the interpretive center really coming to light in the mission. And you know, they use things like, hey, smell this thing or touch this fur, see this painting, how do you feel about it? So they really make it super location specific and very item specific almost, which is really great for learning. So it can be even used, you know, the outdoors. And I know it's we're talking to a network here of trails people, but it can be even be used, you know, for specific, really specific things. Like, hey, do you see these flowers in the trail? Like, how do you like smell them? Like, how do you feel about something like that? So you can really make it super specific, which is great, and bring this knowledge to maybe, you know, someone wouldn't think of maybe necessarily when they are walking the trail, or they don't even know. So it's just good to get people knowing in a different way as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Alice. Are there any other questions for Alice, Chris, and I?
Yeah, please feel free to enter those into the chat, or you can raise your hand if you'd like to ask those verbally. We can unmute you.
Yeah, and I see some really great answers to the questions. Like Jennifer Fier, you were really killing it with the answers over there. I loved it. Um, not sure if you're still there, but it's great to see how you really got, I think, how this platform can be beneficial to people. So yeah, different people can gain access to the outdoors in different ways. You can address a certain problem that you might have in your site, like that Mount Baker Snoqualmie with ice safety, for example. And a way for people to appreciate and love nature, because people are going to be using their phones. So, you know, might as well have them learn something in the process. And I see, Nick, do you have an example of a National Park Service site that is utilizing agents? Yes, we do. Anna, do you want to expand a little bit more on that one?
Yeah, for sure. So, a National Park Service site that we've been working with for a number of years now is the San Francisco Maritime National Historic Park. And they've used Agents of Discovery over the years to engage people at the Hyde Street Pier and just around their site. So, that's a great example, Nick. And I'd be happy to share more specific information with you about how they use it. And we could even send over instructions on how to play their mission using the cheat mode that Alice mentioned. So how we were able to share the Smoky Bear mission today. And thanks, Alice, for dropping that into the chat.
Yeah, we find the NPS, they're more individual sites. Like with the USDA, we managed to get kind of the headquarters to pilot in a lot of sites in the beginning. So that was quite nice. But with NPS sites, we have to reach out individually. So it's sometimes just harder to get a hold of them. But the NPS in San Francisco Bay Area has been quite, I think, an early partner. I think they started
Yes.
2017, 18. Something like
Yeah,
that.
that sounds right. Yeah, and there is an older video done with them too. So Nick, I'd be happy to share that with you as well. That just shows an older version of Agents of Discovery, but how they do use it on site. These are great questions so far. Does anyone else have any questions?
All right, awesome. And if you think of anything after the webinar today, I will send out the contact info again, so you can reach out to the team at Agents of Discovery and ask any specific questions and get more information on pricing and missions and all those types of things. And yeah, I just want to say a special thank you to Anna and Alice and Chris for sharing about this awesome resource today. And your feedback about PNTS programs is really important to us to make sure we're continuously improving our programming to meet your needs and expectations. So please, if you're able to, take a couple minutes to fill out the brief webinar feedback survey that I've put into the chat. And a big thank you again to our speakers and for everyone who attended today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So it was great sharing, and feel free again to email myself or Anna or Chris. Chris, I'm not sure how much you would be able to help bringing new people in, but I'm sure she'd love to chat a little bit further if you do have any site-specific questions or how she's been using the platform. But yeah, more than happy to demo it, even if this is just something you'd like to get on your radar. We'd love to just share kind of how it works.